I've been connected with boxing and interested in boxing since I'm 9 years of age. And I used to go to sleep at nights listening to the fights on the radio coming from the St. Nick's, Ridgewood Grove, and other arenas. And then I used to say, someday I'm going to be a fighter. And then one time in school, the teacher, she'd ask everyone to write a composition on what they want to do in life. And I, with my love for boxing, I wrote that I'm going to be a fighter, a professional fighter when I grow up. And we all got a kick out of it, and she did. She said, no, she thought I was kidding. I said, no, I'm not. And that was it. But I later in life, by the age of 15, 16, I was in the gyms already and doing my love, boxing.
I interviewed Herbie Kronowitz in his home in Brooklyn in 2003. Herbie Kronowitz fought at a time when it really meant something to be a contender. As Marlon Brando said in the movie On the Waterfront, I could have been a contender. Why he said that? Because in those days, being a contender had a certain cachet. You weren't necessarily the world champion, but it was like making the all-star team in baseball. And Herbie was a ranked contender in the late 1940s, at a time when you had fighters like Marcel Cerdan, Tony Zale, Rocky Graziano, really a tough environment.
Boxing with fellas I read about, I knew I had the greatest kicks of my life. I loved it. I ate it up. And then later on, when I really had later in life, in boxing, as I was progressing, I got to fight the main bout in Madison Square Garden, the old Madison Square Garden on 8th Avenue, 49th Street. And I always got a great kick out of it. It was a great thrill. That was in all my glory. And as we said, I had 88 pro fights and 64 amateur fights. And then also how I got into boxing was, in order to box, I took my brother's name, my older brother's name, Herbie. Because my name is Teddy, but his name is Herbie, so we had to get it to get the license, and that's what we did. So that was it. There were three of us. There were three boys, and unfortunately, my younger brother was killed in the war, Second War. He was the baby. He was 18. Yeah, that hurt me, killed me.
What year did you turn professional?
I turned professional in 1940, early 1940, and I boxed until 1950. And my resume is there.
How many pro fights?
I had 86 pro fights and 64 amateur fights. And I won most of them. And of course, they're the ones on the record that should be wins, but they're losses. But
did you headline in Madison Square Garden?
Yes,
how many times?
Yes, I did. Yes, I boxed 3 main bouts in Madison Square Garden. I boxed Artie Levine, I boxed Pete Mead, and the other guy. Well, they were talking about it for this guy Charlie Zivix was coming along.
You boxed him in the Garden, or was it Sonny Horne in the Garden?
Oh no, I boxed Sonny Horne in the St. Nick's.
So it was a Charlie Zivic in the Garden?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. What did it mean to a fighter like yourself to fight in Madison Square Garden?
To box in Madison Square Garden, that's the top line. That's the epitome. You know, you're in all your glory, and that's what you hope. That's what you hope to get. You hope to reach that class. To box main bouts in Madison Square Garden, and it was great, a great feeling.
When you were coming up as a young boxer, there were obviously still a number of Jewish boxers around, right?
Yes.
Now, the fact that you were a Jewish fighter, did you have any resistance from your parents? Was it difficult? I mean, how many parents want their son to be a fighter? Was it difficult to explain to your parents, or what was the situation?
Now, my parents knew that I was into boxing once I started. I got going, and to me, I was in all my glory, and doing something that I love. But naturally, the mother, I think just about any mother doesn't want her son to fight, to be a fighter. But the father, naturally, he gets a great kick out of it, and he had many thrills. And
were there fighters you looked up to, other fighters that when you were coming up that you wanted to imitate or wanted to be like? What fighters?
Well, I met Max Baer. I was 12 years old. Oh, I got a great kick out of that. He was a great guy, big, powerful man. And I met Ali Stoltz. When Ali was coming up, Ali was older than I am, but he was a great lightweight, crackerjack lightweight, yeah. And I met Ben Jebby, middleweight champ. Benny was a hell of a guy. I met Benny. Yes, I met Benny. I knew him fairly well, but not too well. Benny was a great man, quite a fighter. Yeah.
What type of fighter were you, or how would you describe yourself as a fighter?
I was a combination of everything. Boxer, puncher, and one thing, I took a good punch. I was only down twice in my whole career. And that was near the end of the career, and I walked away from it. I didn't get flattened, but I was lucky to walk away. But it's a great thing to be able to box, take a punch and give a punch. I wasn't afraid to get hit. See, I took a great punch, and it never shook me. I never feared getting dropped or getting hurt, because as hard as the other guy would hit, I'd come right back. Well, to me, I think there's no sport like boxing, or was. Today, boxing is in very bad shape, very bad. It's there's no matches, and what they're doing with that Don King, that guy, I don't know the man, and I don't care to know him either. But he's nothing good for boxing, except for himself. Of course, the only thing was when I couldn't get certain fights, I couldn't get a championship fight. We tried to get it, and we couldn't with The Rock, mainly, because at the time he was the big man in the division with the money. So, but we couldn't get him, couldn't get to fight him. And a great fighter was Jake LaMotta. Yeah, Jake was a hell. I was supposed to fight him after I beat Harold Green in Ebbets Field, and but nothing managed, nothing materialized. But Jake was a hell of a fighter. There's a guy who did, and would fight anybody, Jake. And really, I don't know why. What held it up between me and him? Because my manager was talking with him for a couple of months one time, and then nothing materialized. But Jake was a hell of a fighter. When you went in with him, you knew you had a fight, but that didn't bother me.
Well, you never got a title shot. Was that because the politics of boxing, the criminal element?
I never got a shot at the title because I just didn't have the necessary connections. Because you got to be able to fight, but you got to have the connections too, and that's what I didn't have.
You're aware that there's been a criminal element in boxing, of course, down through the years, especially strong when you were boxing in the 1940s. How did that impact your career? Were you ever approached to fix a fight, to do something that wasn't in your best interest?
No, I was never approached directly, but through the management. They were asked at different times, why don't I take this guy for certain monies? I said no. We get in that ring, we fight, and that was it.
You were telling me before that once you were offered $10,000 to go easy. Could you repeat that story?
To go in with The Rock. When they were building Rocky for Ray Robinson, and they gave him 8 wins, and they wanted me to be one of the wins. I said, no, we'll get in that ring and we'll fight. In fact, I offered him, I said, I'll fight you winner take all. How's that? That's the best offer you ever got. Winner take all. Which his manager and trainer thought they were staying. No, they were shaking their heads. No. And I was that.
In your opinion, were there a lot of fixed fights? Was that going on in your career?
See, I'd never say a lot, but there's always a certain amount of business going on. And unfortunately, it's bad for the sport. It's rough for the fighters, especially a kid coming up. Jesus Christ, it's rough. But
as a scientific boxer like yourself, what, in your opinion, is the most important thing that a boxer should know, or should be learning, or should master as he's training in the sport?
First, naturally, your conditioning first. That's it. But then boxing and punching. To box and punch and get away from punches. Left jab is very important. And I had at the time one of the best left hands going. Yes, I used to bust them guys up.
You're not beaten up. You look like you didn't take much punishment. You're talked well. How do you explain that?
Well, those little stitches, scratches that you see over my eyes, that was 36 stitches there from my good friend Pete Mead. Oh, he was a dirty guy. Wow. Everybody wanted to kill him. Well, he made him get that way because he always gave it the lace, the thumb, the back of the hand, head, everything. And man, oh man, you want to get at that guy, really kill him. But and at the same time, the guy cuts you. Jeez, man, oh man. Well, I got cut at that time with bad cuts, but I never really took a real bad beating where I was up and down like an elevator, No, but no, I never really. I felt I never really took a beating.
Who was the best boxer you ever fought?
Well, naturally, I have to say Artie Levine. He was a hell of a fighter, good fighter. But there's one. I beat the guy and I didn't get it.
Who was the best fighter you ever saw?
The cleverest fighter I ever saw was Willie Pep, a former featherweight champ. Great. He was the tops. And Ali Stoltz. There were so many other fellas too that were in that category. But jeez.
The fact that you were a Jewish boxer, did being a Jewish boxer, mean anything to you in terms of ethnic pride? Were you proud that not only were you a fighter, but you were a Jewish fighter?
Yes, but also that also held me back from getting to where I should have gotten, because that people they're against you because they're prejudiced, really. At times in a fight, no, kill that Jew, yeah. Man, that used to wound, that used to eat me. But I would never let it get me crazy, but still, but it just, you don't like to hear those things. I know that's one thing I never did when I'd go to a fight, a ball game or something. Guy's good, he's in there, so I never hollered, kill that nigga, kill that Jew, kill this, it's not supposed to be, and it shouldn't be, but it is.
Did the fact that you were a fighter, were you looked up to in the neighborhood? Mm-hmm. You're from Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
Were you looked up to as somebody, there goes Herbie Kronowitz, he's the professional fighher. Were you looked up to?
Oh, yes. Many times. Even today, I still have people call me and they stop me, they talk to me. They record me boxing in this place and that place, this arena and that arena. And it's a great feeling that they remember you.
You used to fight sometimes 3, 4, or 5 times a month in your.
Yes, that's
How
right.
come you fought so often?
Well, I was in demand, really, and I enjoyed it. I got a kick out of it, and I fought as often as I could. I had 3 bouts within 9 days, and these guys used to tell me, "Hey, what are you crazy? You want to get killed?" That's it. They got the match, we'll fight. It's all right. But I didn't. Well, as I say, to get the fights, the amount of fights that I had, and you had to fight that often.
But there were a lot of places to fight in that time. There were a lot of fight clubs. What were name some of the fight clubs that were around at that time?
And the Broadway Arena, Woodrow Grove, St. Nick's, Madison Square Garden, naturally. Then you had Ebbets Field. At times when they ran the show, it had to be a special show, big show. And what else? And then, well, they wanted me to box out of town too. I was never too crazy to go out of town. I never cared to travel too much. I didn't like it. I liked to fight. I said I could fight right here in New York, and I'll box here in New York. But people want to see you in other places too. Of course, I'm married 50 years. Yes, 50. Well, I have to tell you that. That was my beautiful wife. It's 51 years now. And we have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren, and I enjoy them all. It's a great thing, great feeling. So after I finished boxing as a fighter, well, I refereed for 30 years, and that was something. I couldn't get the fights that I should have gotten because I was held back. I was held back because of connections and also because prejudice. And that ate me up, but I couldn't get it. So I refereed for 30 years. I enjoyed it all, but it hurt me that I couldn't get the right fights.
Was that because you had a reputation that you couldn't be touched? You're
That's
totally
right.
honest. Is that part of the reason?
That's right.
No favoritism.
That's right. They knew you couldn't do anything with this guy. He's 100%. I was really, and well, I enjoyed it. Nobody points at me and says, this guy, and this fight, that fight. Never. I ran the fight the way it had to be. You get in that ring, fight, or don't get in that ring. Sure, well, I boxed the last main bout in Ebbets Field with Harold Green, the 2 Jews, for the middleweight championship of Brooklyn. And I beat him. And I have the beautiful belt to show. And that was in 1947. And that was the last show in Madison, in Ebbets Field.
Okay, here's the change of belt. Now, just
In 1947, I boxed Harold Green. He was a red-hot fighter from Brownsville, and we boxed for the middleweight championship of Brooklyn. And I beat him, and I got a belt for it. And this is it. This is it. Can you see it? And it covered. No, that's it. Yep. Yeah, boxing was hot. Boxing was red hot then, really.
you mentioned to me earlier, you were saying that you were told to take it easy in a fight. You said you were the man, and was it against Pete Mead somebody? You were told to take it easy. Can you repeat that story? That once I was in the dressing room and my friend comes in and says you better win by a knockout.
That was against with Pete Mead. The night I'm boxing Pete Mead in the garden, and my friend comes in the dressing room and says you better knock him out. I said I'll kill him if I can, but he said no, we better knock him out. They got the referee and the judge. So I said we'll go out there and you tell them to change him. But I should have gone out there with them and get the commissioner and tell him, you change this referee and the judge, otherwise I don't fight, and there's no fight, because I was in the main bout. But they said, no, I went through, I won the fight, but I didn't get it, because discrimination and monies. That was it.
And this must have been very frustrating for fighters to have
Sure.
this against them.
Sure. I said, what's the sense of going in and fighting 10 rounds and being whipped and everything, and you win the fight and you don't get it? I might as well not try. But that was different. I just couldn't do it. I loved it.
How come some fighters get hurt and other fighters don't seem as hurt? How come? Well, what do you think that is?
Well, I think I can say fortunately, not too many guys get hurt. But there are fellows who do get hurt, and as we've seen, guys were carried out of the ring, or guys were killed in the ring. It was their last fight. But it's just a matter of the breaks. You have to be lucky there too. I took a hell of a punch. I took a great punch. Everybody gets hit. When you get in that ring, everybody gets hit. And anyone who doesn't want to get hit shouldn't go in the ring. But you can't help it when at times you get hit a good bang, man, oh man.
Do you regret anything about your career that you could have changed or would have changed?
No, what I regret is that I couldn't get the shots that I deserved. A shot at the title or other certain money fights, but there are certain things in life that you just have to take. It's aggravating. It's an aggravating. It's tough. It's a tough business, but it's an aggravating business. To be in it, you're fighting, you're winning, you're trying, and stuff. Well, with this Jimmy punching bag Flood, Jimmy Flood, the kid, 3 times I boxed that Palooka, and the best I got was a draw, and I beat him the other 2 times too. It was no contest. He won 1 or maybe two rounds, and the other fights, they give him the decision. Jesus, man, oh man, that used to eat me up.
Would you encourage your son to box?
If he's going to box, he wants to box pro, yes. Just to box, no, because you get hurt, everybody gets hurt. You get hit, and you get cuts, and if you don't intend to box professionally, leave it alone.
So in other words, don't just box as an amateur, don't even box unless
right.
you're going to get paid for it?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And how come there are no Jewish fighters today?
Yeah, it's really something. It's dwindled down to, I can't name you one Jewish fighter in the world. I can't name you one Jewish fighter. It's really something.
If you had to do it all over again, would you become a fighter again?
Yes. Yes, only I'd make sure I get a fellow manager with connections, otherwise it doesn't pay. I'll go through the same aggravation.
Were there any lessons that you got out of your boxing, other than learning how to fight? Any lessons as a person? Anything that helped you grow as a human being, character, anything that you got out of your experience in boxing?
Well, you learn how to be a man, a gentleman with people, everyone, and it's nice to be nice.
Who managed you as a fighter?
When I was co-managed, I had a fellow who started me, a guy, Nat Lehrer, and he took Stanley Joss. Stanley Joss's father had the Broadway Arena. That's why we took him, figuring we could get better bouts. But evidently it didn't help.
Who trained you?
And when I first started, I had Ray Arcel, and then I had the great Jimmy August. Jimmy was a great cut man, and he knew his boxing. And I kept him all the way from 1946 until I retired in 1950. And Jimmy knew his boxing.
What do you think of boxers today in terms of their ability and their technical abilities and defensive, offensive technique? What's your opinion of today's fighters?
Today, unfortunately, boxing isn't the same, because the kids who do go into boxing, they're looking to get in there into the quick, easy money, and there is no such thing as quick, easy money. Once in a while, someone is lucky. He falls onto it, but in most cases, boxing is not an easy sport to get into if you're looking for easy money. But you just have to make your business that if you want to box, you go in there and learn how to box, and to protect yourself, take care of yourself. Otherwise, leave boxing alone. Boxing is nothing to play with.
What do you think of a fighter fighting for a title like they do today after 12 or 15 fights?
Well, that's. I wish it could have happened to me, but unfortunately, I'm just kidding when I say that. But because really, a boy isn't really ready for a title fight or good tough fights as there were, and every so often come around once in a while. But no, boxing is nothing to play with. it's a great sport, but it's a dangerous sport. And if you don't want to get hit, or you don't like to get hit, that's not the sport to go into.
Describe a typical day when you were training for a fight. What did you do? Got off the road? Describe a typical day.
Boxing is a very strenuous sport. You first off, starting with the training, you must run at least 5 to 6 days a week, between 5 and 10 miles a day when you do go out to run. And you go to the gym, well, at least 5 and 6 days a week, and you hitting the bags and boxing, sparring with other fellas, and you learn your lessons there in the gym. You learn that many times you walk into a punch and you just couldn't get out of the way. But boxing is a tough sport. It's dangerous, and you have to learn and make your business to get away from punches and counter. That's a great thing when you learn. Today is, again, we go back to today. Today boxing is in very, very bad shape. Very bad shape. What they put in the ring as a main bout, a feature bout on a Saturday night, it's a disgrace. Because the boys have no ability, and they don't belong in there. And for the few that are around, give it to them, but they don't have the necessary manager or connection. You got to go in that ring knowing that, well, this is your business. You'll walk into punches, you'll get away from punches, and you'll drop the other fellow. You do what you can, but it's nothing to play with.
Did they get hit too much today?
Yes. Most kids, they unfortunately, they're not prepared, they're not ready for what they put them into. But they put them in there.
Were you always in shape for fights?
Always in shape. Yep, that's one thing. In fact, I pulled out of a couple of fights because, the fight was made, but still, something was bothering me, and I just called the fight. That's all.
How did you support yourself after you left the ring? Were you in business? How did you support yourself? What did you do after you retired?
As I said, I retired in 1950, and first off, I went into the taxi business, and then I wound up with a couple of taxis of my own, driving one and managing, having them, and then I got into the limousine business. After that, in a while, and after that, I became a salesman. I was a goodwill man, and I'd go and walk into people, and people I never saw in my life before, and introduce myself. I represent so-and-so and this, and how about give me a shot? And nearly everyone that I went into, I was lucky that they did take to me. But then again, even in that business, you have to have connections. If you don't, it's rough.
The fact that you were a fighter, did it help?
Yes, being big people, I'd walk in and I'd introduce myself, and then as I'm starting to introduce myself, guys, I know you're Herbie Kronowitz. I saw you fight here and there, and there. Oh, I got a great kick out of it. Oh man, you feel great. So that's 3/4 of the battle right there. So that's how I used to get accounts. But otherwise, it's, what's going on today in the world with everything is connections.
Did you say who the hardest puncher you ever fought was?
Well, I think it was Artie. Artie shook me. I dropped him. But Artie was one of the great punchers that I fought. And he knocked out Ray Robinson, But they gave Ray a long count. Oh yes, out there in Cleveland. But I boxed Artie, and I dropped him. The fight nearly ended in the first round. In seconds after the first round, I dropped him twice. He got up, and then we went 10 rounds, 10 murderous rounds. He cut me, but still, we went 10 rounds. Well, I was a combination fighter, boxer, puncher. I could box, I could punch, I could take a punch, and I never worried about getting hit either. Now, that was an important thing.
Go.
But,
Show us your stance. What was your stance?
yeah. And my left hand was really my most effective. I had a great left hand, great left jab. Yeah. And shoot. All right, shoot the left hand.
Yeah.
See, you shoot that left hand right out there. Right out there. Wing! Come right on back. See?
What about Laverne Roach? Good fighter?
Roach.
You beat him easy?
He had his, because, him.
Tough
I
guy.
boxed him 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I beat him, I dropped him. But he was a tough boy.
And,
When he did to Rocky, he slaughtered Rocky. Yeah.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's true. And Johnny Greco, good fighter?
Yeah, I was the first one to beat him down here in New York in 1949.
That's right. That's the
I
early
think.
fights. Yeah.
Yeah, in the garden. Johnny made a lot of money. Well, him and Carbo.
Yeah. Carver was handling him.